morning. Welcome to Building Beast Brands, the Authentic Rob G podcast. I am Rob G. Today is Friday, thank God it's Friday, February 22nd, 2019. I got 37 degrees on the thermometer, and it's actually very warm. It's weird when you live in this part of the U.S., and if you don't know, I live in the tri-state area, the suburbs of New York City, about 20 minutes outside of it, north and west. You get used to some pretty frigid temperatures. 2 weeks ago it was -10, and then it was about a week later it was up to 45. So you get these large swings. So when you've experienced the teens and the single-digit temperatures and then negative temperatures, suddenly 37 degrees feels like spring. So that's what it is now. On my way into the box this morning. On my way into the box. Are you headed on your way into your box? You know, if you don't know, if you're just tuning in, if this is the first time, if you're a new listener, I thank you for listening. I appreciate it. The box is what I unlovingly call that building that I go to for my 9-to-5 job. You see, I work a 9-to-5 and I build a business alongside that. So each morning I head off to this office building where I go inside for a full day. And then at 5 o'clock, they let me out, which is always great. But it's a box. I remember I was walking around one day, and it's a little short story, a little explanation for you. I got tired of sitting in my seat, like being shackled to a seat. And I went outside, and I was walking around the building, and I just looked up. And for some reason, when I looked up, I didn't see it as a building. It just looked like this big metal and glass box to me, because it was more of the way I felt about it than the way it looked. I feel like I'm being placed inside a container and just asked to stay there for a day. Now listen, I am not so much down on my job. My job is good. The company I work for is good. That's all good. It's just the concept of having to go and sit in one place all day long. You see, when I get a day off, or if I am on the weekends and I'm building my business, when I'm building my business, I'm never in the same spot. I go outside, I move room to room if I'm in my home, I'm out meeting with somebody. There's different scenery. I get to film little videos wherever I may be. Down by the Hudson River, it's always a great view down there of the new bridge they just built. And, you know, it just makes for a more interesting life when you get to live it from wherever you want to be. And that's what I'm working towards. Ultimately, just having the reason I build my business is for two things. It's flexibility of time and the ability to command my own rate. That's why I build it. But as far as jobs go, jobs are a great short-term solution financially, but they're not a great long-term solution. So anyway, just a couple of thoughts from me. You know, if you want to know what goes inside this beast brand of mine, you find me across the web over on Twitter and Instagram at Authentic Rob G. Over on YouTube, my channel Savvy, S-A-V-V-Y with Rob G, where I talk about business ownership, productivity, and branding. And today I want to talk to you about, each day I'm always thinking about what am I going to say in future podcasts. You know, I'm a branding guy. I'm in the branding space. I coach businesses on how to discover and bring out their inner beast brand, the brand that's inside them, that was meant to be the true, real brand inside them, and help coach it out and then amplify it through visuals and across the web in their messaging, whatever they write, record, whatever. So I, as a branding guy, always come up with a different take on branding. Well, I really don't. I do have my stance, and if you want to get a little bit of a feel for the way we brand and the way we operate, if you've listened to me, you got an idea, but head on over to unleashmybeastbrand.com. You can see some of the visuals and some of the way the wording is. That's the part of the messaging, the personality of the company, which is me. So that'll give you a little insight. But I was thinking about, where I am now and my journey, and, you're along with me on this journey somewhat, as I am entering a whole new world, so to speak. I've often, over the years, as I've always had a job, I've often attempted to start various businesses, deep down inside me, I always wanted to own my own business. I always felt like that would be a way to be able to make more money if I wanted to, as opposed to a job where you have to ask for an increase and they may not give it to you. But a job is meant, that's the way it is. It's the way it was built. That's what it's for. You work for somebody, they pay you, and they don't want to pay you any more than they're paying you, but you want more, so you're always at odds. But with a business, if you structure it right, you have the ability to earn more money. More of it is in your control. And I think it was the money / the flexibility. And I know if you talk to different business owners and you hear different stories, but at the core of it, there is a truth. And if you talk to different business owners, they'll say, owning a business is not easy. No, it's not. But let's put it this way. I don't look at it as something that is hard to do. I just look at it as something that takes a lot of hard work, which you may think is splitting hairs, but when I hear people say it's hard, that sounds like whining to me, and it sounds like they're having a tough time and they want to give up and they don't want to do it. That's what I hear when somebody says it's hard. But you'll never hear me say it's hard, even though it takes a lot of hard work, because I enjoy every minute of it. And so some business owners will tell you owning a business is one of the greatest things they've ever done. And yes, you work hard, but they feel like me, where you're in control, you're making the decisions, you decide who you want to work with, where you want to spend your time, what you need to do to grow the business. So that being in the driver's seat provides a freedom and a flexibility that you decide who, you decide where, you decide when, you decide how. And that's really what I'm talking about in terms of the flexibility. I work very hard. Now think about this. I have a 9-to-5 job, so I'm working, say 40 hours a week. And there's commuting time, so there's sometimes up to an hour each way, going in and coming back home. And then every night, I'm doing something in my business. On my lunch break, I'm doing something in my business. On the weekends, I'm doing something in my business. I'm building it in parallel with a full-time effort, even though it may not be a solid 8 hours every day. It's a full-time effort. So, in terms of that, as I look back at my journey, what it really came down to for me to do this was something that holds a lot of people back. And that's going to be the crux of my message here. At my age now, as I talk to people in my age group, there's plenty of them who would like to own their own business. There are plenty of them who are unhappy in their job. And I try and be nice. I'm not always very sensitive, and I'm working on it. But I ask them, why don't they go do it? Why don't they get another job? Or why don't you go start that business? And they look at me like I got 3 heads. And I'm like, what? And the answer is usually the same. It's usually age defined. It's, how am I going to do that? I don't know what to do. I haven't touched the software in years. What would I do? I wouldn't even know what to do. I wouldn't know where to begin. I wouldn't know where to start. I didn't go to school for that, so, I don't know anything about that, whatever the industry they think they might even like. And the funny thing is that even though today I talk to people and I hear that same garbage, that happened 5 years ago. And that happened at age 40. And that happened at age 35. It even happened at age 30, where people who were the same age as me were constantly telling me they were too old to start something new. And I laugh, but ageism is not a number. Ageism is a mentality. If you think you're too old, it's because you think you're too old. And that is the thing that's holding people back. I look at my age now and I think all the years that I have behind me, and maybe sometimes I feel like I should be further along than I am. I should be more successful. I should have made more money. I should have more money in the bank. I should have more assets. I should whatever more you want to put after. I should have I should have. And for a split second, it's almost like a feeling of regret. But no, I choose to think of it as lessons I've learned along the way. All those years that I spent reading and learning, because I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory in a minute that tells you how far I've had to come. And I don't like to talk about me per se, but I just want to provide a framework for going forward to hopefully help somebody change their mindset about what you need to do in order to move ahead no matter what it is. You need to overcome the brain that sometimes you have programmed to hold you back. And yes, it is in your control. But I grew up a very insecure child, the youngest of 3 boys, not very aggressive. I was not the sports kid. I was not the aggressive kid. I was not the kid who got into fights or liked fighting. I didn't like confrontation, and I didn't really talk at all. My older brothers, they were into sports, and they got into fights, and they did what most normal boys do that I didn't do. I was very quiet, very introverted. I kept to myself, and I had no problem with actually being by myself. I was actually most comfortable. But society says, you got to be a certain way. I wasn't able to really carry on conversations with people. I was very insensitive, very clueless. As a teenager, I was very insensitive. And, by the way, sensitivity, being sensitive, first of all, this is not a woman trait versus a man trait. You're not a wuss if you a sensitive man. First of all, sensitive means you're sensitive to other people's feelings, not your own. Okay, everybody's sensitive to their own feelings. But it means you're sensitive to others, and you take that into consideration in the way you deal with them, in your dynamic with the relationship. But I was clueless and insensitive and would say things to offend people often and not even know it. I wasn't able to connect the dots, As an introvert, I could remember it being in high school. And it was a weekend and I'm out at a store, and if I knew you from high school and I saw you in the store, I would backtrack a few aisles back just so I didn't have to run into you, because I wouldn't know what to say. I didn't have the self-confidence to even say hello. To just, how about give the dude nod, right? Like, I couldn't even do that. Just so scared, so afraid, so clueless. And the thing was, I knew it, but I didn't know what to do about it. And then when I was 23, and I got a call from a friend who was a childhood friend of mine, and he moved to California, and he started a business there. And he had a print shop, and he heard I was a graphic designer. He called me up and said, "Hey, why don't you come out here and join me in business? We'll make this, something more than what it is. Bring your design skills in, because I'm not a designer, I'm just a businessman." So at 23, I packed up my car, threw my computer in the back of my car, and drove out to California. And it was an experience. I always liked the idea of owning my own business, but didn't really know how to go about it. Very, very clueless, and not very good student in school either. So you could see I'm really amounting to the potential for huge success here. No, not at all. So when I got out there, and I pretty much got started right away, and I started designing logos and brochures and flyers and whatever people came in. It was a storefront. They needed design, we would design them. We would do business cards and letterheads and envelopes, and anything we could do, we would do. But what I learned most and what amazed me most was, even though as insecure and unconfident as I was, I watched my partner be the exact opposite. Strangers would walk through the doors of the store, and he would start talking with them as if he knew them for years, and just schmoozing and laughing and doing business, taking orders. And I would ask him, I remember asking him more than a couple of times. The person would leave, and I'd say, "How do you know that person?" And he would go, "I don't, I just met them." And I'm thinking, how do you talk to them like that? Like, you're so comfortable. You guys are like friends immediately. And he just kind of laughed because I don't think he really knew. He was just hardwired that way, and he could do it. But I was in awe of that ability. And so that whole going out there and being a partner in that business was a big bust. Financially, it was a bust, and it didn't work out, and we were a little bit at odds. And I returned back home to New York, and it was gut check time. I saw something out there that I felt like I wanted to be more like that, like he was. And I'm going to tell you something. Here's where the pivotal change comes in, and here's really the whole point of this podcast, this episode, is that I was in my mom and daddy's house. My brothers were out already, so I was 24 years old. I was only there a year. And I'm laying in my bedroom, in my bed, right? 1 a.m. And I'm thinking back on what I just went through. And I thought, I really don't like myself. It was this self-loathing, but not in a way that was loathing for the sake of loathing. It wasn't an emotional deficiency per se. It was more of an awareness and a wantingness to not be that way. I didn't like being clueless. I didn't like not being able to talk to people. I didn't like not having confidence. And I didn't like not knowing what the heck was going on in any given situation. So I remember sitting there and I'm thinking, I've got to change. Now here's the thing. For all my deficiencies, for all those things that I lacked, there was one thing that I knew for sure, and I didn't even second guess it. And it wasn't the fact that I needed to change, it was the fact that I knew that I could. And I'm going to tell you, if you take away one thing from this episode, I want you to take that away. The fact that you can change, because, like I was saying when I was speaking with any of the people that I came into contact with over the years who wanted to do something but felt they couldn't, what they were saying was they took their path and they didn't believe they can change their circumstances because they are who they are. So in other words, a quiet person can't become talkative. An introverted person can't be outgoing and social. A person who is lazy can't suddenly become ambitious and energetic. And this is not a self-deprecating thing, but I was lazy and unambitious, in addition to all those other things. The laziness, the worst thing that I was apathetic, because I didn't really care either way. But there was just this flicker of a little spark inside me that wanted a certain life. Really didn't think I could ever get it. But that disaster of a venture out to California turned out to be a blessing in disguise. And when I came back, I decided, you know what? I'm going to change. And that's it right there. That's what I'm going to say to you. No matter what age you are, no matter what stage in life you're at, you can change. But it doesn't happen because you want it to happen. It happens because you make it happen on a daily basis. You know, over the years, because of that, obviously I didn't become a super success. Otherwise, I might be doing this podcast, if at all, from some island somewhere right now, or definitely somewhere else than going into the box. But what I did was I had a lot of overcoming, and I had a lot of changing to do. So what did I do? I did something that most people wouldn't even think of doing. Started reading books. And when most people had the attitude of, I graduated college, I'm not reading another book again. And that's pretty sad. The books that I read, it was anything that I didn't like about myself, I found a book to help me overcome that thing. And between the ages, now I didn't start reading right away in terms of volumes of books. I was 24. I did start reading. First thing I did was, you may laugh at this, you may not, I don't know, but back in 1992, Tony Robbins wasn't who he is today. He was the late night infomercial guy. So at 1 a.m., I ordered his cassette series, his cassettes, little plastic cassettes that you put in your cassette player. I ordered that series because he promised me he would help me change. And he did. He did. And that was a stepping stone towards the reading program, where at age 26 or 27, that's when I really started reading. And I got into reading and realized, man, I was able to change myself a lot easier, a lot quicker, the more I read, the more I took in what I was reading and I applied it. And there was a period of time there, as a 1-year challenge that I placed on myself. I was going to read 1 book a week for a year, 52 books in a year. And if you're not much of a reader, you think like reading a book a week is impossible. Well, it's not, because I did it. And it's not because of how great I am. It's just I planned it out and I made it happen and I just stuck to it. But I learned a lot, and I must have read, I think between the ages of 26 and probably 40, maybe in that, say, 15-ish year time span, I think I definitely read 400 to 500 books. And I know that's what enabled me to be the person I am today, which is, hey, you're saying, you're no big deal. That's okay. But I'm different than who I was. I'm able to talk. I have a podcast. I do videos. I'm able to run a business, which that means meeting with strangers. I'm able to network. I've overcome the fear of talking to people. I've gotten up on stage in front of hundreds, and at one point about 1,500 people, and gave a short talk, promotional talk. So I was able to do that, and it wasn't really that big a deal. And in fact, I realized I really like it. I've learned a whole new set of skills. And when you look at those skills, those are money skills right there. To be able to talk to people, some money skills. But even the more practical skills, like, I came through my career in print design. In print, I worked for a company, a retail company. They produce those weekly flyers that you get in the mail that come in the newspaper. You know what a newspaper is? It's that paper thing that people read, get their news on. Flyers used to come inside it. I worked for companies that produced brochures and annual reports and signage and labels and print. You understand? Print. And in my late 40s, I realized print is not where it's at. Digital is where it's at. By that time, it was really obvious, but still, how do you at 48 years old, like most people, decide I'm not going to do that anymore, I'm going to do digital? What do I know about it? So I taught myself, I was always a designer, so I taught myself how to design for the web. I taught myself social media, I taught myself digital. I taught myself everything having to do with marketing and the web, and then branding and all those things as it pertains to the digital realm. And I'm out of print, so to speak. So a lot of people would figure they can't do that, but they can, and you can. And if you're out there right now and you're thinking you want to make some changes, that you'd really like to own a business, and by the way, most people feel that way these days. Entrepreneurship is one of the most desirable, quote-unquote, occupations right now. Most people want to be. You know why? Because they can. Technology is available in which they can start a business a lot easier than you could have years ago. You don't need a degree. You don't necessarily need gobs of dough to start it up. You just need a desire, you need an idea, and you need to get your butt going. So, owning a business is definitely something you can do. You just need to realize that you can change, and you have more time than you think. If I'm 51, so when I think ahead and I go, if I started, say, my adulthood at age 20, well, that means that I've got 31 years behind me. Where am I going to be? How old will I be in 31 years from now? I'll be 82. My dad's 82. My dad's done a lot between 51 and 82. And then my parents are still kicking butt, still living life, and it's an amazing thing to see. So I know I've got at least another lifetime ahead of me, because I got one right behind me, so it's definitely ahead of me. odds say, probability, statistics say, I will live to the late 80s. The longer you live thanks to medical technology. And you keep your body in good health. That's what you do. So I've got the time, and you've got the time. You've got more time than you think. And here's the thing. Whether you have the time or don't have the time, it's all you've got. It's your life. You can change it. And I'm going to challenge you right here, right now. If you think this is something you want to do, that what you've got in your head, you want to make a change, you can do it. I'm married. I've got 4 kids. I was 48 years old when I decided to launch my business. How ridiculous is that? People would never do that because they think it's too risky. Listen, keep working a job and hoping you're going to have enough money and not having the life you really want. That's risk. And that's a risk I am not willing to take. So if you feel the same way, I'm going to challenge you. I want you to take a step right here, right now, and I want you to decide that you're going to change. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to find a book to overcome the one skill set that you need to overcome, that you need to learn in order to move ahead. I want you to write down with a pen and a piece of paper. Don't use a computer, use a pen on paper. There's something magical about putting pen to paper. When you write, it's a very creative thing, and it gets your creativity going in your brain. So put the pen to paper and write down the thing you want most and the life that you ideally would like to lead. And then read it, and read it every day, and make a serious decision to go for it. And then go find the books that you need to learn the skills. Go track down the videos. Go find somebody who's already been there, done that, and watch their videos, read their book. Follow them online and learn what they know. And you can do it. That's my message to you today. You can change, and you should, if you are truly not happy. Because in the end, it's only about the happiness. And as much as I've not had the degree of happiness in past years that I've wanted, I'm going to tell you, I've never been more happy than I am right now, even though I don't have the one thing that most people attach to happiness, and that's money. Money is not going to make you happy, I'm sure. Find out when I get there, but here's one thing I do know. I've been broke, seriously broke, with a family, and it was misery. If you're a good person, you'll do good things with money, so money can solve most of your problems. So anyway, so there's your challenge. Go ahead, do that. Please do that. For the sake of your family's future and your future happiness, go ahead and do that. And if you want to give me some feedback and let me know, I want to know what goes on inside your brain, hit me up across the web on Twitter and Instagram at AuthenticRobG. Over on YouTube, my channel Savvy. Check out those videos. Spike those comments below. Hit that subscribe button. Got great new content coming up regularly, as I do here on the podcast. I want you to subscribe to this because you're not going to want to miss future episodes. We've got exciting stuff coming up. And if you need help with branding, real quick plug here, go to unleashmybeastbrand.com. You've got a few days left in February where we are running a half-off package, save 50% on a logo, website, brand strategy package. This will, March 1st, return to normal pricing, I promise you. So book in the month of February and take advantage of that. We can help you get that inner brand of yours, get your business and take it to a whole new level. UnleashMyBeastBrand.com. That's it for today. This has been Building Beast Brands, the Authentic Rob G podcast. I am Rob G. Thank you for listening.